Welcome, everyone, to Couch Potato Diary. My name is Peter Klein. Thank you very much for hanging out today. As always, we are presented by Sea of Dead. Head over to seaofdead403.ca, grab that great Calgary swag. We're rocking with some Stampede Wrestling gear here today, which is appropriate because we're going to be focusing on the wrestling world here. We're a week post WrestleMania. We're about 10 days post a big AEW title change. We're about 12 hours post some big news from the wrestling world with the cuts that were happening. So a lot to cover on this one today. So that is going to be the main focus for everything here. As always, hit me up on social media. I'm at Primetime Klein on Instagram, X, TikTok, Threads, and Blue Sky. If you are watching and want to bring Couch Potato Diary with you wherever you go, check out the podcast. It is available on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your pods. And if you're listening to this and just want to watch, check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@CouchPotatoDiary. Also, for those on Couch Potato and podcast form, we do have just a wrestling podcast called Living Room Lariat, and there's going to be just a bonus segment on that for the wrestling fan here today. So if you just want the wrestling stuff or want more wrestling stuff, head over to Living Room Lariat and hit subscribe. Again, same place you get all the Couch Potato Diary stuff. So now we've plugged everything. Let's get into the show. It is a very fun time in the wrestling world. WrestleMania, you got a bunch of fans coming together, a bunch of wrestlers for wild promotions that are coming out as well. And then the unfortunate reality of the wrestling business hits with WWE making a series of cuts over the last couple of days. And the reactions to these have been pretty aggressive. And a lot of it justified, and a lot of it, while coming from a good place, maybe not necessarily directed in the right spots. So just want to go through some of the stuff from the cuts that were happening in the wrestling world, and let's just piece together what we can from a really wild last 24 hours in professional wrestling. So, the first thing I want to say about all of these, because there are some opinions that I have on this whole thing that will likely make me seem like a bit of an asshole. So I just want to state and make it abundantly clear that first and foremost, all of this sucks. You have performers who have had their dreams taken away. You've had performers have their livelihoods taken away. And while we do believe that there could be a pretty good landing spot for a lot of them, this is a time of uncertainty, and it is not a fun one. And I just want to state, like, the first and foremost with all of this is that it sucks, whether it's a dream job or just a job, to have it kind of taken away from you in such a public fashion, too, would not be a very fun way to have your life kind of put out there. And so I just want to say, first and foremost, that it sucks. And from an overall, like, WWE standpoint, you look at some of the talent here, and I can't imagine when you have 2.5 hours on Mondays and 2 hours on Wednesdays, and you have 3 hours sometimes on Fridays, plus some other programming that you have kind of adjacent to it. I don't know how in there you don't have something for some of these people, whether it is Aleister Black or Kairi Sane, Apollo Crews, Motor City Machine Guns, and I'm not going to list all of them because, look, that it would be unfair, and then we're just getting into all of that. But there's a lot of very talented people who were let go here, and it just, when you see the amount of time that they have, and sometimes what they spend that on, it is difficult to kind of wrap your head around how don't you have something for these talents. And I think the changes that apparently have been made with NXT, where the talent aren't making a whole lot of money anymore, I think that does really change how this process kind of goes, because I think Motor City Machine Guns would be perfect for an NXT in the black and gold era, right? But they're not getting paid the same as they would be for main roster, so why would they want to go there and make that kind of thing try to happen, or something along those lines? Same with Aleister Black, when they needed a lot of main event talent on NXT. Aleister Black has been that before. I don't know how you don't have something for him on the main roster, and for all of these guys, but it feels like there has been a lot of changes in how they do certain things, developmental and all of that, and you can understand not wanting to get sent down or anything. And I don't even know if that was presented as an option. And for WWE, like, yeah, if you are paying $30,000 to some of the other people and then $150,000 for these guys to be on that same show, and I don't know how much of a difference that would make on the program, then yeah, like you can obviously see why it would happen. But I still just like creatively, how do you not? Now let's get into the other parts of all of this. And for those who don't know, I come into this from I shudder to say news background, because that's doing some stretching. But I worked at a news radio station in Calgary for the better part of 10 years and have worked in sports media that whole time, on the mainstream-ish side, as mainstream as radio can be in 2026. But I worked in radio, whether it be news or sports, for over half of my life now. And I do think with that, there does come a certain bit of just almost dead to the world with some of these things. And you like when you're covering stuff like murder and all of that all the time, you do, I want to say you put things into perspective, but you can kind of overdo it on that end and forget about some of the human aspects of some of this. But there is also a level of like seeing how a lot of this stuff can get covered. And I think that is being lost a little bit in what is, it's a great era to get into the media world and to get into the content creation space, because you can just do it. And if you're great, and if you know how to network or how to make your videos look cool or any of those things, then you can go very, very far in this. And so it's a phenomenal time to do that. But you do now have some people who are, for lack of a better term, who are covering the sport and who are covering this industry, who are not coming at this from a media background. And so in a lot of cases, it is good to come at this from a human aspect of it, right? Like to humanize a lot of this, because this is a very real human thing that is happening to a lot of these people. But to suggest that some of the media coverage on it was unfair or anything like that, I think is preposterous. And a lot of that goes with the Zelina Vega comments on her Twitch stream about Sean Ross Sapp. Firstly, I find it insane that people are going after Sean Ross Sapp, but not those who clip the Zelina Vega comments from her Twitch stream themselves and are spreading that out there without Zelina getting any credit for any of it. Now, you know who she is, and it's not difficult to find that, but still, I would have more of a problem with that than what Sean Ross Sapp did. What SRS did is his job. He is reporting on these things, and people saying like, "Oh, you're announcing all of this during SmackDown." It's like, dude, he's just reporting on the news, and this is news, you know. And like it is tough because it is real life, and I don't want to say, well, you got into a public forum, that's part of the job, because we have seen that get aggressively abused this week at WrestleMania weekend out in Las Vegas with some of the interactions with a lot of the performers out there. And a lot of that can get justified with, well, you ended up, you wanted to be a celebrity, this is what comes with it, because that shouldn't be. But this type of thing is, you know, as someone who worked in a public space and then got let go, it's not always awesome that the entire, and not that mine was on the scale of these people, obviously, but it's not awesome that the entire world can know that you just got canned from your job. That's not an awesome thing to experience. And so for Zelina, though, again, you can understand being frustrated, but to take it out on Sean Ross Sapp, who's just doing his job, I don't understand that. It is his job to report the news. And if he was reporting these things unfairly, fine. But your issue shouldn't be with him. He's doing his job. These moves are news. And honestly, if I were the performers, I'd want this to get out there as quickly as possible, so I can already get like that fan, like you look at the WWE TikTok today, every video that they put out, someone at the top is saying justice for Kairi Sane or something like that. You want to get that groundswell out there. But I do think that the frustration is a little misguided when directing it at a member of the media. Where is it coming from? You know, like when I got let go from Rogers, like you go through the whole thing, but one of the things they say is don't really tell it, like you tell your family, you know, you're not just hanging out on the couch now and not working. It's no, you'll find out later. Like you can tell like certain people around you, but don't put anything out on social media. Don't tell like a lot of the coworkers and stuff like that, because we are still doing this and we don't want people to find out that they are getting cut and have it not come from us, right? So if it was some of these things ahead of time, then that's a little weird. Like that, like if the report was WWE is planning on cutting Kairi Sane, Zelina Vega, Aleister Black, like that's shitty. That sucks, right? But if it's happened and the news is getting out there, don't shoot the messenger here. Your frustration needs to be with the people who are leaking this information to him, who are giving this information to Sean Ross Sapp. And given Zelina's reaction to it, I'm going to suggest it didn't come from her. So it is from a source or from someone in WWE, in TKO, or wherever these guys are getting it from. That should be where the frustration is. It shouldn't be with the person who is reporting the news that has been given to them. That's the job. It should be with whoever is leaking this information out there. So if Zelina wanted to announce it on her Twitch stream and to get it out there, then she should be upset with the person who got it out there first, and that's not Sean Ross Sapp. So I can understand people getting frustrated by the coverage or anything like that, but this is the media. This is the media when you are covering something that is, and people can talk about wrestling quality and all of that, but this is the biggest wrestling company in the world, so the biggest wrestling journalist, or one of them, is going to cover this thing. That's how this industry works. I don't think any of the media coverage was dehumanizing or anything like that. And I just feel like a lot of the targeting on the media for some of this stuff is a little overblown. And I think a lot of that comes from a lot of people who are now covering this are on the more influencer side. And I'm sure there are some who come to this from a news background, but not all of them are coming from the media aspect of it, where this is part of the day-to-day with that sort of a thing. The other part of this, and this is where I know I'm going to come across like an asshole, and I feel kind of shitty for even thinking it, honestly. But some of the talk about, and look, like the timing of this is not awesome for a lot of different reasons, but over the last week or so, we have found out through different court filings and everything that WWE pays its performers about 15% of the revenue that the company is making. For context, the NHL and I'm pretty sure NBA both have it in their collective bargaining agreements that the revenue that comes in, it's 50-50 split. So the players get 50% of that. So for the wrestlers to get 15, that's really bad. That's really, really shitty for that to happen. Also, it was reported this week that through different court filings and all of that, that the CEOs at TKO and Endeavor and all of that are making just under $100 million. So, like, that sucks. Like, to then have these cuts be for money reasons, but CEOs are making $85 million, and that gets into a grander economic whatever. But I'm sure that'll trickle down at some point. But the one part of this, though, that I'm seeing, because all of those things are equal parts accurate and bad, but the one thing that I'm seeing is, these guys just can't afford to just pay these people. Like, what are we doing? We have to make budget cuts with all this. And on the one hand, like, yes, like the guy is making $84 million and they are cutting people who are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Like, we are talking about multiple zeros and commas that are coming up in the difference between these two. And so to say, the cuts are for budget reasons, like that's a really bad look. And that's really, really shitty. I will say, though, I don't think I think the argument for not cutting some of them is, how do you not find work for these people? How can you not find a way to get your money's worth out of a lot of the performers that are on these shows? It shouldn't be, how come they're just not paying them to just sit around? They should just pay the entire rosters all of the money so that all these people can just have this living and do that. That's not how any business operates, right? Like, I'm sure we could go through with a fine-tooth comb and see, like, yes, I think Mark Shapiro and all of them would be able to live on $50 million instead of $84 million. And you could spread that wealth out amongst the performers. And I want anyone who puts their body on the line in this industry for our entertainment to be as comfortable financially as they possibly could be. Personally, I think if we're going to talk about the spending of WWE and taking care of the wrestlers, I don't think it should be targeted at, well, they're not really using some of these people, but they should pay them anyway. I don't think it should be that. I think it should be more the people who you do have under contract, like the Becky Lynch interview with the guy from Suits. I forget his name. I'm sorry. He's a wrestling fan, and that's being really... I would like to be known as the guy from Suits, but he does more than that, and I don't mean to be degrading at all. That's just where I know him from. Not the point. The interview was talking about how, like, they pay for their hotels, they pay for their travel, they pay for this, that, and the other thing. I do know that, like, some medical stuff is covered, but I would much rather they spend money to take care of the performers they have under contract than, well, I mean, we maybe not using these people all that much, and some of these people were being used, but we don't think that this is a good way to spend our money, so we're going to cut them. Like, that's business. That happens. I've been on the wrong end of it. It sucks. But you also don't just want them, like, I don't think they should just be spending money, and I don't think we should expect them to just spend money on stuff just out of the goodness of their heart. I think the main part of it is, if you have to cut people, fine, but let's, certain other things that come with being an employee and not just an independent contractor, maybe you could give that to them, or just give them employees, like make them employees, help them with benefits and travel and retirements and things like that. I feel like that is much more where I would want them to spend it, rather than, well, why cut people when you can afford to not cut them? And just like Apollo Crews, I am sure financially Apollo Crews is not going to make as much wherever he goes next than he was making with his WWE contract. I do think Apollo Crews is going to be significantly more creatively fulfilled in his next venture than whatever he was doing in WWE wrestling Mr. Iguana on Main Event and anything like that. So I hope for the best for these people, and I hope I don't come across like too much of a heartless bastard talking about some of this stuff, but it's just something that I wanted to talk about, kind of seeing how everything kind of played out over the last little bit. I am sure there's some disagreements with what I have said. Let me know in the comments, and we can keep chatting about it there, or hit me up on social media. I am at Primetime Klein on Instagram, X, TikTok, Threads, and Blue Sky. It does feel a little callous to just go, well, now that that's over, let's talk about the wrestling stuff that happened. But obviously it's a wild time in the world of professional wrestling, so let's keep moving. The Raw after WrestleMania, for a long time, had a reputation of being the must-see show of the year for Monday Night Raw. And it's the big kickoff, big surprises happening all over the place, and gosh, is it so much fun. That reputation fell into, well, can't wait to be disappointed on Monday, and a lot of frustration with fans. I think we got back to the exciting part on Monday. A very fun show from the WWE post-WrestleMania as World Wrestling Entertainment kicks off their new wrestling year with some style. So Monday Night Raw, right after WrestleMania, I thought it was a fun show. You get a couple of debuts coming in from NXT, and I think the one thing, because NXT, like, obviously they are in a different spot now. Before, it was really cool if we just talked about Apollo Crews getting cut, but Apollo Crews debuting on SmackDown, coming out of NXT, or, oh wow, like here's Samoa Joe, here's Kevin Owens, here's Sami Zayn. We never got the Adam Cole thing that we wanted, but maybe Adam Cole will be here. Finn Balor, all of that, like those performers coming up are really exciting. You kind of already took a lot of the dudes anyway, who were going to be debuting from NXT and who were kind of main roster ready, and not all of them come with the same kind of like hype because of work that they did in the independents or anything like that. Like, a lot of these are, to the grander audience, a little bit of unknowns. And so with that, you do, and like the free agent market and the independent scene, still some great wrestlers, but it doesn't have the same buzz as you would have when AJ Styles came in, or someone like that, right? So you kind of have to create that a little bit. And that was always kind of what the brand split was supposed to be for. And this is where having the brand split can be a good thing. Because on Monday, you have Jacob Fatu come out on Raw. Now, he also popped up on SmackDown, and that's where I get frustrated by it. But to have him like, okay, this is the big thing. This is, instead of the NXT call-up, it's a SmackDown guy on Raw. Street Profits were SmackDown. And they were also hurt for a long time and not out there. Apparently a little busy. But they pop up, and it's okay. We got new performers coming in from SmackDown over to Raw to freshen things up a little bit. That gives it that same kind of excitement that we used to have with the debuts and returns and all of those sorts of things for Raw. So I really liked how they kind of set that up. And then the main event of it, Roman Reigns gets the Bloodline back together with Jimmy and Jay, and then Fatu comes out to challenge him. And like, this is going to be a fantastic feud. An excellent promo on Monday, setting up Fatu's kind of motivations behind all of it. Like, I want the shoe deals. I want everything that comes with being the world champion. I don't want it. I need it. I think that this is going to be a very, very good feud. And the only thing that bugs me about it is that there's no way Roman's losing a Backlash to Jacob Fatu. And I think Jacob Fatu could be world champion in this company very, very soon. Like, he would be high on my list of guys that are going to main event a WrestleMania at some point here. He just has everything about him really, really great. And so I like so much of this. And I think they're off to a really good start. The SmackDown part where he's like, yeah, like I came out, I challenged the Tribal Chief. The Usos come down and they're like, look, Cody's right there. Why are you doing this? And then Jay said, it doesn't matter. You already did it. You stepped in it. You're screwed. And so I do think having that Jimmy be a bit more of the compassionate one, and having Jay keeping, like, bordering on heel tendencies in a lot of these things provides a different dynamic to the Bloodline this time around, where I do think eventually, like, I don't think this is going to be another 4-year run of the Bloodline. I would imagine sometime in the next 365 days, this thing blows up. And the different dynamic now is babyface Roman Reigns against heel Jey Uso. And how does that kind of change everything there? So I do think there's a lot of interest in so many different areas of this. And my one hope is that Fatu, who I don't think is going to win the title, could, but probably won't. I hope that he doesn't just get forgotten. And this isn't just Damian Priest or anything like that. I hope that there is a really good follow for him, because I think he should be on this level in the main event. I thought the Femi thing was brilliant. Like, it's brief, short, to the point. There's so much happening on this show. Let's let a couple things kind of simmer and just keep him as this big thing that everyone's excited about. Ethan Page, added to a really good mid-card in WWE already, is on Raw specifically, is fun. I did want him on SmackDown, teaming with Chelsea Green. We'll see what they have kind of in mind for her now that Alba Fire, Kaylee Ray, it has been released by WWE. That group seems to be changing a little bit, but those two worked so well in NXT. They did some really good stuff in AAA. I was kind of hoping for that again, but you can just see it. Like, this is a guy who, if you just watch WWE, you don't know a lot about this dude. But to see, like, it felt like he already belonged night one, and we didn't even get to see the thing he's great at, and that's the promo work. Like, his mic work is exceptional, and he is going to be able to talk his way into the main event scene, I think, pretty convincingly here very quickly. And so I'm excited for that. And also, like, the commitment that this guy has made into building his body up has been great. And, like, for a long time, you knew him as a very good promo dude. And wrestling's fine. But he has obviously improved that side of his game. He's got himself into tremendous shape. This guy has star written all over him. And you look at, like, that ladder match on WrestleMania Night 2 was so much fun. And you see the talent that they have on the mid-card in WWE on Raw right now. Adding him to that mix really elevates it just that much more and makes Raw a really entertaining show to follow. So Ruca, on the other hand, I almost would have taken the Ethan, like I would have flipped the two. I would have had Ethan come out and cut a promo in front of the live audience, and I would have had Soul only say a couple of things and get an opportunity at something. The promo work isn't great from her. It is not the strong suit. Now, she erased all memories of calling the Royal Rumble the Battle Royal with a phenomenal match with Liv Morgan, and that's always going to be the strength of hers. If she can get the promo thing down a little bit more, then you have super duper star on your hands, right? The look incredible, the confidence fantastic, the physical charisma she has is second to none. It just needs to be matched by the verbal, and then you have the entire package and a superstar on your hands. You might anyway, even without it, but there's so much with her, and I'm glad she got to show that off. And I like that all of them, whether it's JC Jane on SmackDown or Soul or Ethan Page coming into it and getting thrown right into title mixes, I love that right away. Bring them up, have a plan, and execute that. So I'm very excited to see all of that. And then Street Profits going over to Raw. It's a really nice boost to a tag team division that very, very much needed it. A tag team division that's basically non-existent, especially if the Usos are off with Roman doing a lot of that stuff there. So I think that this is... Now, it sucks in hindsight because Motor City Machine Gun's getting cut from the SmackDown tag team division, but you look at how much talent was over on SmackDown tag team-wise and just nothing over on Raw. It does make some sense to kind of trade that one over and make that a little bit more of a focus here in 2026. But overall, I thought it was a really, really good show on Monday to get us going here into the new WWE year. And I'm excited to see where a lot of it goes. What did you guys think of Monday Night Raw? Let me know in the comments and we can keep that conversation going. Also, again, if you want to bring Couch Potato Diary with you wherever you go, check it out in podcast form. Just search Couch Potato Diary or Living Room Lariat on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Now that WrestleMania is in the books, it is the start of a new year in the wrestling world, and that always means the focus can kind of shift to a few new performers. Here are 5 that I think the WWE really needs to put their focus on as we head toward WrestleMania 43 now. All right, number 5 was already the focus of a lot, but didn't end up on WrestleMania. Io Sky has to be part of the focus here. I think she is genuinely one of the best wrestlers in the world. She has an incredible connection with the fans, and for her not to be on WrestleMania, I think is bordering on travesty, given that she had one of the matches of the year at WrestleMania the previous year. So I think there really needs to be a focus on her back in the championship picture, whether she stays on Raw, over on SmackDown. Obviously, it seems like right now Raw is the place. I think that there should be a lot of focus on her. We got some focus on number 4 on Raw, and it was around the title picture, but Sol Ruca. The promo does leave something to be desired, but the in-ring is exceptional. And again, when you see the connection she had with a lot of the fans on NXT, and just the brief moments that we've had with her involved with main roster performers, there's a lot here with Sol Ruca, and you could be looking at a superstar on your hands. I think you got to roll with this one here, and that needs to be a real focus for WWE in 2026. At number 3, Trick Williams, already the United States champion. Everyone knows this guy has superstar potential written all over him. That needs to still be one of the guys. Like, he should be very close to the main event of WrestleMania 43. If nothing else, when he comes into the Royal Rumble, someone who has his number in a Royal Rumble pool needs to be thinking, I could win this. I could do this. At number 2, a couple of the ones we've mentioned are already people who have been focused on a little bit, and we just want that a little bit more. This is not one of those. At number 2, Rey Fenix. I don't know how you have a guy who is genuinely one of the best wrestlers in the world on your roster, and you can't find anything for him. This guy has world championship caliber athleticism, in-ring ability, all of it. There's a fire to him also. I get, like, he does not have the natural charisma on a mic where, like, Penta could be speaking in just tongues that don't exist anymore, and you would still be drawn into it. Rey Fenix doesn't have that, but what he has is an incredible in-ring ability that I think needs to be focused on by WWE in this next year. And at number 1, I think it's obvious. It's Oba Femi. Coming off of the WrestleMania win over Brock Lesnar and all the reactions around this guy, whether it's the strut down to the ring or the chants of his name or just how huge he is, the in-ring work, awesome. The promos, excellent. He is the total package. This guy should be in one of the main events of WrestleMania next year. So those are the 5 that I think WWE should really have a focus on pushing in this new wrestling calendar. Where are you guys at? Any disagreements with the 5, and did I miss anyone? Let me know in the comments. While the WWE obviously gets a lot of the headlines with WrestleMania, AEW continues to put on fantastic show after fantastic show with their new champion, Darby Allin, putting the title on the line already. And when you are looking at trying to be greater than, different than WWE, Darby Allin certainly helps you check the different box. It's going to be a fun ride with Darby as the world champ. Let's talk about what it looked like on Dynamite. So, Darby Allin, as AEW champion, defends against Tommaso Ciampa, and the thing that I like, obviously right now, AEW as the alternative to WWE, that's kind of all you need for a lot of fans, given the product that WWE has put out, and it hasn't been positive headlines the last little bit either, with everything going on with the cuts. And so for AEW to be the alternative and the wrestling company, that's great. But if you want to go one step further, having Darby as your champion is about as alternative as it gets when the other guys have Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns as their champion. Darby is different from anything you will see on WWE programming ever. And I think he is very deserving of this opportunity as the world champion. I do understand some of the skepticism where your world champ, you should at least be able to make the case that he is the best on your show. And for Darby, that's never going to be the draw around him. It is going to be that he never gives up. He's tough as hell. He has the pain tolerance of just whatever, like just an astronomical pain tolerance. And he's just going to survive long enough to be able to beat you, and he's never going to quit. And you can have that as your world champion, absolutely. I see where other people are coming from, where it's like, no, like you can... No one is going to say, technically, Roman Reigns is the best wrestler in WWE, but you can, like, make the case because of his size and of how he carries himself and the athleticism that he has. Like, oh yeah, you look at him as like, yep, he's the world champ. Same with Cody. But with Darby, there isn't necessarily that when you are on a show with Ospreay, Moxley, MJF, even Kenny Omega, Kazuchika Okada, Konosuke Takeshita. Like there's a lot of very good wrestlers on this show. But to have the underdog there for a little bit in that championship spot is, I think, a very fun way of doing it. It also opens up a lot of different options for the title. The one thing, and I don't want to be overly critical because I do like where AEW is at right now, and I do find I tend to drift into the critical with AEW, so I want to state, I think what they're doing is good. But, like, Tommaso Ciampa gets a title opportunity after losing a battle royal, and Brody gets a title opportunity after a squash match, and the last time we saw him in a big spot, dude lost to Swerve Strickland. So, yes, it's fun to get these matches with Ciampa and Darby Allin, and it's fun to get Brody against Darby Allin, but this is kind of why title eliminators exist, right? I don't want it to just be, well, this guy had a feud with Darby, so now we can make this happen. I do think that there still needs to be a little bit of earned with some of these title shots, especially if you're going to be doing them every week. I think there has to be at least a little bit of, wow, this guy's earned that opportunity at the championship. So that's why I like the eliminator concept more than just Darby having basically an open challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship on the men's side every single week. There was one thing from Darby that really caught my eye, or I guess ear, when he is doing his promo thing with MJF. And MJF is kind of freaking out about everything. Darby had a really interesting line where he said, unlike you, I want everyone to get a shot at the title. And that, obviously, right now, it means Tommaso Ciampa gets that opportunity, right? Brody King gets to work into the title chase, right? MJF saying, like, Kevin Knight was beneath him, even though he's the TNT champion. Like, that sort of thing, that's not going to happen with Darby. The first name I thought of, though, when he said that was Hangman Adam Page, because there is the stipulation coming off of the match those two had that Hangman can now never compete for the world championship again because he lost to Darby Allin, and that was the stipulation that was put on it. I could see this whole thing being like, unlike you, I want everyone to get a shot at the title. I can see this being used to get Hangman back into that. Either it is Darby saying the only way he's going to face MJF is if they rip up that part of the contract and Hangman gets his opportunity at being world champion again. Or do we get another Hangman heel turn? And he's saying, look, you're saying everyone gets a chance. How am I not everyone? Like, this is hypocrisy. You're dodging me. You're scared of me. Give me my opportunity. And setting it up that way. So I feel like this opened the door to allow them to creatively get out of the kind of corner that they painted themselves into with the Hangman Adam Page stipulation that they had. So I think that could be a very interesting thing and just something to kind of look out for as we go along here. Other things from AEW, Jericho bringing in the Hurt Business to face the Demand. That's fun. I kind of like the idea of the Hurt Business being the modern day APA. I think that's an interesting one. Jericho, he a polarizing figure, we could say, getting a lot of positive reactions right now, sticking in this babyface role. So I do imagine at some point we get somewhat of a Jericho heel turn. I like this a whole lot better than, he's bringing the learning tree back and everything there. I'm happy that we just keep that over there and having this at least for a week with Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin makes all the sense in the world. And I do like Kevin Knight getting into it a little bit with MJF. It makes a lot of sense. You're integrating new people into new feuds, because that was the criticism, right? It's like, the main events are always just one of Omega, MJF, Moxley, now that he's back, Ospreay, Hangman, and Swerve. And so I do like that we're getting a little bit of life brought into that. I will say there is a touch of hypocrisy with some of that, because for those of us who are around, and I do think that there are some similarities in the people complaining about this and who were watching at that time, but for people who are around, the SmackDown 6 was an incredible era on SmackDown, and it led to the elevation of Eddie and Edge, and I do feel like Undertaker was a made man, obviously, but I feel like it 100% drove home he is like one of the best of all time in that SmackDown era that they did. And you listen to Paul Heyman talk about it, and he's like, yeah, we're going to have 6 guys who are the focus, and the only time they're going to lose is when they're facing each other. And that led to some incredible matches that we got, and some incredible stories, and the development of some of these guys. And so I would be a hypocrite to love that era and then shit on, well, there's only 6 guys in the main event picture. They're all 6 guys, a couple of them have been on TV for a while and in this picture for a little bit. But for the most part, they're still only a couple years into being main eventers here, and kind of elevating their status along with the company makes a lot of sense. So I get where people were a little bit like, hey, this is getting a little one note, but that one note was one of the best eras of just wrestling and character development that we've seen in this industry in a really long time. So I just thought there was a touch of hypocrisy there, but I do like that we are getting a little bit of fresh blood being integrated into these title pictures here on AEW. So overall, they're in a pretty good spot and have the opportunity to bring some more people in with everything that's gone down here over the last little while. So those are my thoughts on Dynamite. Where are you guys at? Are you in just complete disagreement with me that AEW, they've ruined everything? Let me know what you think about it all in the comments, and we can keep those conversations going. Also, if you could share this with your friends, we're trying to grow the podcast, we're trying to grow the YouTube channel. So if you're watching on YouTube, hit that share button, share this with your wrestling fan friends, and we can keep the conversations going there. It would really help in elevating the channel. That's going to do it for us here today. Again, thank you so much for hanging out. As always, we're presented by Sea of Dead. Head over to seaofdead403.ca. We got the Stampede Wrestling shirts. I can't remember if they're in stock right now, but if not, send the request and try to push those out again very, very soon. But a lot of very fun stuff. And even if you're not from Calgary, just the stuff looks great. So check it out now, seaofdead403.ca. You can find me on social media. I am at Primetime Klein on Instagram, X, TikTok, Threads, and Blue Sky. If you are looking for the podcast, find Couch Potato Diary and Living Room Lariat on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your pods. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Hit a like as well. If you're watching still, you must like it a little bit. Hit that like button and leave a comment. We can keep having the wrestling conversations down there. Thank you all so much for hanging out today. Have a fantastic rest of your weekend. I'll talk to all of you later. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.